Change slides completely. They'll have to reorient the education system actually. So you can take it all out and you can take it all out and then handwrite it.
As in they are going back to the days where you sit in the class?
I don't believe there is a going back. I believe that so they may have, this may be a temporary response, but they'll have to change the way education.
Government initiatives, can we have the resources, for example, the low quality lignite or coal which we have in India, can we have technologies which can cause them to be less polluting, so that the financial burden on the country is reduced, so that we don't have to export high quality coal from Australia or other places of the globe. So that's another way, and also to have alternate energy sources. For example, the green hydrogen technology can help us is, can we have better and efficient energy audits? Can we have an income? For example, the IIT Delhi or IIT Bombay thing will go
on business. So the solution to that we think of is that government can promote a cluster of recycling, right? A particular area which is like a special economic zone, wherein they provide the infrastructure to startups, to smaller companies who can access that to create, do R&D on recycling for whatever.
People's heart that national educational policy which is there right now needs to be more inclusive, needs to be more progressive, needs to reach out to any and everybody which is there out there, because these people, I mean, we're talking about 1.55 billion people in the future. If we don't treat them correctly, rather than being an asset, they'll be a liability. So that's what we need to focus upon, that make them employable at any and every stage. Focus on things like, let's say, how can they be more emotionally intelligent, focus on the social learning aspect, and also make them employable at any and every stage. So that's one. All right, sure. And also one of the points which was discussed was that, the national educational policy needs to be in tandem.
It starts from your kitchen, as simple as that. You don't need a lab to certify this, it starts from your kitchen. Second ये है कि per unit focus होना चाहिए और cluster based vigilant, community based or cluster based vigilant होना चाहिए about things like climate change, wastage, wrong policies, etc. होता क्या है, बड़े बड़े UNDP और बड़े बड़े forums पे बड़ी बड़ी policies बन जाती है, but they don't percolate down to the lower end of the pyramid. और उसको correct करने के लिए हमारे पास एक ही रास्ता है.
So that's how we're going to be dividing it. So I'll now bring Friday here to come up on the stage and speak.
Okay, so we've got these two topics coming up, but I'm going to set the stage for that. But I'm going to pick on that big number that Raja spoke about, 1.55 billion Indians. And we need to do something in this room today to ensure that those 1.55 billions live in a much better world than we do. So that's the pressure we are under to come up with great recommendations. So keep that in mind when you do your brainstorming. The other thing I think we should all keep in mind is the point that Madam Secretary made about us needing to increase the level of our self-esteem and to also ensure that our learning process suddenly sharply grows, because that's the multiplier effect that will lead to us creating a better world for our future Indians. In that context, I think while all of us have clear visibility for what's happening in Noida, Gurgaon, Bangalore, Bombay, Pune, I think the real change will happen in the smaller cities, tier 2, tier 3 towns. I'm just going to start with a small story. This was 2 years before COVID, October 2018. I was at Patna for a 2-day startup event organized by IIT Patna, 250 people in the auditorium. There were 5 young people in that room who looked very different, talked very differently. They were the most active people. As younger people would call them, they were the most enthu cutlets in the room. And they were asking all the questions, networking with speakers. So in the break, I caught hold of them and said, "Where are you from?" They had taken a 28-hour train journey from Bhilwara in Rajasthan to come to Patna, changing 2 trains. And they would do the same on the way back. So I said, why did you take so much trouble? They said, in our college, in Bhilwara, which is a technical college, not even a full-fledged engineering college, all of us no longer want to pursue jobs. We want to be entrepreneurs. And in opportunities to interact with people, so when we saw this ad on social media, we booked our train tickets and came.
Cooperative type run, NGO type run small businesses. There's going to be a lot more focus on sustainability. And for all these businesses, emotional connect, going back to the roots, that's going to be the key differentiator, right? For the consumers and for the society at large. Of course, we're entering an era of more tech, more AI, and interestingly, this will mean higher order plumbing will be available for businesses than what is available today. Which means that, stuff that we struggle with today, the 1,000 forms that we have to fill, right? Hopefully, ChatGPT ka koi version will fill all those forms for us in the future, right? A lot of those things will be available to us at null costs. So,
solutions to local problems, working with states, and to find local solutions. Then we also discussed about how important it is to have training on attitudinal aspects or soft skills training, which we do have currently, but in terms of the weightage, because we felt that if we again have to reimagine a future, it would not only be competency in terms of the technical skills, but how is the attitude of our youth. And that is something which would make them employable, because we do see employers giving this feedback that we will train them, training hum kara lenge once they join, but I need to see people who are willing to learn, who are open to ideas, who can work with others. So something like that. So and that again goes to the education system, that do we have enough weightage for evaluating those attitudinal aspects, because that is when people would also give focus to that when it comes to training, certification, evaluation in the entire process.
So we don't actually know how many Indians there are. We have an estimate. So either this year or sometime certainly in the next 18 months, India will become the most populous nation in the world. By the way, they've said we already have, but we don't really know. So I'm just buying ourselves a bit of margin for error here. We have a common sense. You know what? But actually, so think about this, right? Like literally within the next 18 months, for sure, because that they've run all the statistics and that's the margin for error. India will become the most populous nation in the world. Now, what's very interesting is not that, since we're talking about youth. What's very interesting is by the end of this century, which is 2100, which interestingly, it's shocking to think about this, right? Which is only 77 years from now. Actually, I'm just looking around the room. Some of you will still probably be building your companies. Srikanth and I may not be. I don't know what you'll be up to. Because medicine is a marvelous thing these days. What's happening? By the year 2100, India will have 1.55 billion people. Any guesses? Now, China, by the way, right now is 1.4 billion. Okay? China has 1.4 billion people. Any guesses what China's population will be by the end of this century? Let's take a guess. Anybody want to take a guess? So China's population today is 1.4 billion. Last year was the first year where China's population went down. In fact, every month now there are fewer Chinese babies being born than Chinese that don't exist. So what do you think the population of China will be by the end of this century, which is only 77 years from now? Any guesses?
700 million. 700
million. Other guesses?
Less than 1 billion for sure.
1 billion, okay. Less than 1 billion, okay. Sakshi, any guesses? No, this is a very important, because this is the Ministry of Youth. Because we're talking about it's extraordinary. Any other guesses? Actually, you're both we are close. 770 million. So I want you to imagine a world 77 years from now, where India has a population of 1.55 billion. And by the way, India's population peaks at 1.7 billion in the year 2067. Unless, of course, something changes. Which could people, and China only has 770 million. That's extraordinary, right? And every other country, by the way, almost every other country, except a few countries.
Interplay. Why not have an integration with all the departments? Let's come and sit together, just like we are doing it at TIE. That, okay, one we need to focus upon. That is the first point. And as my friend said, sustainability is the mindset. So it has to come in every single person's mind. It is not like, the organization's thing. You have to own it. Ownership is what we need at the forefront. Second point, socio-ecological model that we need to follow. So like from the previous point, from individual to the community to the organization, every single person's voice needs to be considered when we are talking about climate change and disaster risk reduction.
The world about models of living, provided we look closely at ourselves and provided we consult our lived experiences much more. So we can identify what it was that serious force multiplier. What we would like to point out over here is that today perhaps the India stack looks like a given. But let's think back a bit to 10 years ago when it was emerging. Then it was not a given. And yet, whenever we plan a portal of this kind, a infrastructure of this kind, we do need to imagine what the future might be like. And we need to build those interfaces now. If you were to build those interfaces several years later, that would make it much more complex and very difficult to do. The reason that India has been able to build the digital stack is not just because of the IT expertise that this country possesses, which of course it does possess in spades, but at the same time it's because we were able to learn from the experiences of others. And I think we need to note the extensive consultations that went round over the years about how the Aadhaar project was to be structured. And I think that is one of the greatest strengths of India as a nation, that when we look at our process of decision making, every decision is preceded by very extensive consultations. A lot of the time it does happen that all these discussions do delay decisions, but at the same time we need to recognize that the decision therefore becomes that much more robust. So going back 12 years, who would have said that the Aadhaar database should be interfaced with banking, that it should be interfaced with health? Yeah, but yes, that's how they structured it, because there was so much dialogue among the stakeholders. And today, if the Aadhaar database has been able to interface with health to generate the unique COVID platform that has allowed us to vaccinate 1 billion plus people. So that kind of thing is definitely India's strength. I also think that COVID has changed the way in which the world looks at us. It was a matter of wonder. And in order to provide guidance to others, we need to have a high sense of self-esteem. And I think that we need to stop this constant self-flagellation that we like to indulge in. All societies have their faults, they have their flaws, but they also have their strengths. And one can only build on what is strong. I think the strength of Indian democracy is something that needs to be recognized. Now I have heard ever since I was a child about the concept of unity in diversity. But friends, I would like to put it to you that human beings are diverse.
Certain patterns, basically like in colleges, we go to basically STEM fields. So they have certain patterns that the students, professors are the ones who are making them write articles and everything. But they're taking the whole credit of it. So I think that students should be given credit of that too. Secondly, so when it comes to skill sets, now students have a lot of skill sets that they think that need to be enhanced. Now entrepreneurship is one thing that wasn't taught in school to anyone. That was something that people learn through experience. But I think if they taught that in schools and colleges, that would be very effective to students. Education needs to change. That's something I've already told, that there is a lot of rote learning that's being taught to students. There's no practical knowledge. We teach them what to think, but we never teach them how to think. I mean, if you've seen 3 Idiots, right? We taught them that you are all learning what's written in the book, but you're not